Hello there, welcome back to the channel. Anyone that's been watching this channel for any amount of time will probably notice one thing. I'm a bit of a sci-fi nerd, particularly for Predator. And I say particularly for Predator because that's the theme of this video. Obviously, Star Trek is my golden goose, but I have been a fan of Predator ever since I first laid eyes on that crab-faced ugly mother. And I have loved that franchise ever since. The original movie, in my humble opinion, is a masterpiece of cinema. It is one of the most perfectly constructed films ever. People have broke this down far better than I will ever be able to match their eloquence in doing, but in short, the film has 3 acts, as you would expect. Each act is like watching a different genre piece movie. You start out with big, dumb, schlocky 80s action movie, which is what it wants you to think it is. Then it turns into some kind of war drama. Then it's full-blown sci-fi survival horror. And it seamlessly blends these together, while at the same time being an allegory for the Vietnamese War. It's a poke in the eye at masculinity and that kind of ultra badass superhuman, again very 70s and 80s masculinity, hence why it's got a predominantly male cast of all men that are hugely buff and very well built and are generally considered the symbols of masculinity and manhood of the era. And this film is actually tearing that down by heavily leaning into it. The whole big famous fist slap between Carl Weathers and Arnold Schwarzenegger, showing off their biceps and some kind of display of masculinity, leading into how every aspect of the film actually tears down how successful this tactic is. Yeah, they're great at fighting a bunch of gorillas in the jungle that weren't expecting them, but fighting a real enemy, this doesn't work. Just like in the Vietnamese War, you throw all the weapons, all the tactics at it you want, all the technology you have, you still lose. You're still being killed. And that's kind of what happened in the Vietnamese War. America goes in with all the best technology, all the best trained troops, and it loses. After 10 years of continuous war, they lost. They had their victories, certainly, but they didn't win the war. It was neither strategic nor anything or tactical victory. And that's what this film is saying. You only win when you start to think, and that's what happens by the end of it. You burn through all these macho men, all these buff superhumans of cinema that tell us that this is what a true man looks like and what he should be. And he can't beat the Predator. Not until you strip away his technology, you take away all of his advantages, and more importantly, he stops relying on his guns. Because all through the movie, up until this point, Arnie and the others, they've been firing from the hip, barely wearing armor. You got all the cool one-liners, all again 80s schlock you would expect. But that doesn't work against a real enemy, an enemy that knows how to fight. And you have to abandon such ridiculous notions of what it is to be a man and actually use your brain. And it's only then that Dutch is able to defeat the Predator, by outthinking it. He crafts weapons that it can't see. He uses tactics rather than overwhelming force. I mean, yeah, I'm sure you drop a nuke on the area, you would probably kill the Predator. But it's kind of self-defeating, isn't it? In order to beat this thing, he has to adjust his tactics and think. The film is genuinely, from my opinion, an underrated masterpiece. Something people look back on and think of as just some dumb 80s action sci-fi with a big, brutish, evil alien in it. But even the alien in it, even the Predator himself, is no brute. It's no savage. It's a strategic, tactically minded, thinking entity with an honor code. All of this and more wrapped in, again, the package of big, dumb 80s action schlock. It's meant to deceive you, much like the Dirty Harry movies. Go back and watch them. Each one's got a message about racism, sexism, or some other allegory within it. And quite often, the greatest parts of cinema and television, just like Star Trek, utilize this storytelling method. Why am I going on about this? Because I've gone on about that for a while. Predator is awesome. As you can tell, this is what I think of Predator. This is how much I love Predator. This is on my right calf. I love this franchise. Absolutely love it. But I don't love every aspect of it. And there is one aspect of it that eats at me sometimes. And it's the god-awful reimaginings they always keep trying to dream up. Predator 1 and 2, I think, are great. I've always liked the second Predator movie, all the way back to college. People were always telling me, Predator 2, it's not as good as Predator 1. And I'm like, shut the fuck up, you douchebag. You douchebag. You are saying that, and that this is targeted at very specific people that I went to college with. You are saying that because you are a douchebag. And because other people smarter than you, or people that you wanted to emulate or be like, were telling you, Predator 2, it ain't as good as the first film. Fuck it. What is? Predator is a masterpiece. It was never going to be as good. But is it objectively a bad movie? No. It's different. Yes. But it is not bad. It explores, again, many themes and is a highly intelligent and actually well thought out movie, which again pokes fun, although perhaps a little more bluntly, at movies like Lethal Weapon, Danny Glover's own film, and other such sort of cop movies where the cop just bursts in, guns blazing, all McBain style, and gets away with it. And that this film is, again, a tale of that, as well as a story of 90s gang violence in LA and where it could potentially go. Because remember, this film is set in 1997, but was made in 1992. Basically, Predator 1 and 2 are good films. They are both good. Good in different ways, but they are both good. My personal opinion, the first Predator is better than the second. But if I ever watch Predator, I will watch Predator 2. However, that's where it kind of starts to fall off the wagon for me. And this is the bit that irritates me, the reimaginings. Predators, they redesigned the Predator. Why? Why? Now, I'm getting to it. I know comic book and game lore. We'll get to it. But why do the Predators look different? In this video, I'm going to posit a theory I've got going, which a few actually can explain away these differences as an in-universe reason. And tell me if you agree, disagree, or have your own. In the comics, we have what are known as Bad Bloods. Bad Bloods are dishonored predators that are often exiles, kicked out of their clan and out of predator society for conduct unbecoming that of a predator. Very un-Yautja-like. And these predators will do all kinds of different things, but notably, they hunt dishonorably. They'll hunt in groups, they'll kill defenseless prey, and they will simply hunt for the sake of hunting. They will even kill other Yautja. So they are Bad Bloods. They're not the kind... They're criminals, right? They're criminals. They are the gangs. They're the Scorpios of the Predators, right? They're the bad guys. The bad guys amongst the objectively, arguably bad guys of the franchise. Now, because of this, Bad Bloods do other things. Cybernetic enhancement, genetic tampering, which has all kinds of historical reasons that date back to the Amengi when they used to rule over the Yautja in comic book lore, who used to experiment on them. And then you fast forward to the Predator, which we'll get to in a minute, about all the genetic experimentation stuff. So you roll back into that, and one possible explanation for why you've got these super predators in Predators, but you still have an original looking Predator, is because perhaps the super predators are Bad Bloods. Maybe not. There is another explanation, which we'll get to, but they could be Bad Bloods. It definitely explains the actions in the Predator and why they look different. And it's pretty obvious. They've been altering themselves and cybernetically enhancing themselves, integrating technology and genetics from other species that they're hunting into their own biology. So it's pretty obvious with that movie. But in universe, it's kind of starting to be a theme. Now, in the comics and the games, it's always the original style of Predator, which could argue that that is the original Predator. But yet, in the Predator, the one we meet has a bit of human DNA in it. So there is an argument to be made that the Predators in Predators are actually the original form of the Predator, which seems unlikely, but it's possible. So progressively through the movies, we have seen the Predators evolve. They change. In the upcoming movie, Predator Killer or Killers, they all look to be more in line with the original Predator. Kevin Peter Hall's portrayal, designed by Stan Winston, they seem to be much more like that. But yet, then we have Predator Badlands, which is stirring up some controversy, as this video was made before that film came out, and I don't know the full explanation as to why this Predator looks like it does. but it does look more human, I've heard people describe. Personally, don't see it. It is a little leaner and smaller, but other people are saying it's because it's young. I suppose when the movie comes out, I can update this and I'll know, but at the moment it hasn't. There is the possibility that perhaps this predator is a bad blood as well. Maybe it's got some human DNA in it. Maybe other predators experimented on it. Maybe it's a little too human. Maybe it's not human at all. Maybe it's not a bad blood. Maybe the bad bloods are taking over. We don't know much about predator internal politics. Now, I'm going to get to additional theories. Now, going back to Predators, which started this whole thing off about some of them looking different. Because again, like them or hate them, the AVP movies show the Predators as looking like the original Predator, like the original Yautja. So most of their cinematic appearances, on screen, television, anything, they look like that. But there are subtle differences, and there is another possibility. Aside from the obvious out of universe, they just wanted to make them look bigger and scarier, which is dumb. So, moving on from that, amongst our own species, there is arguably an argument to be made that from an alien point of view, if you were to take me, a Caucasian man from Western Europe, and then stand me next to an average man from Nigeria, who would probably be taller than me, probably, and would definitely have more melanin in their skin. Then take another man from East Asia, say South Korea. He's probably going to be shorter than me. All of us the same age, but we would look strikingly different from an alien point of view, but we are the same species. One is Caucasian, one is going to be black, and one will have East Asian characteristics. Now, we are the same species, but is it the difference between a dog and a wolf from an alien point of view? Possibly. So, take that back to a human eyes, looking at the Yautja, and we have the original predator, and we have the super predators, so-called. Is it just an ethnic difference within the species? Insular breeding within specific clans, or geographical locations of their homeworld, which date back hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years, when their ancient ancestors first spread across their world? And is the predator that we see in the original movie perhaps the equivalent of Caucasian, and the super predators are actually their version of Central African? It's possible. We don't know enough about their biology or their history to say one way or the other. Now, considering the severe cultural difference I seem to see within the predators, I lean into the idea that they're actually bad bloods, that they've been genetically altered, because this seems to fit more with how they are culturally quite different to the other predators, lacking the same sense of honor and respect for their prey that we see demonstrated by the other predators. So I think that they are bad bloods. The idea that the Yautja will be intending to invade Earth is also seemingly a little weird, with a seemingly original appearance Yautja wanting to stop that, and an obvious bad blood. No doubt, bad blood, the sort of giant stupid predator, is definitely a bad blood. By comic book lore and other expanded universe lore, that one is by definition a bad blood. And yet, they were the ones planning to invade Earth. There's a lot going on behind the scenes we simply don't know, and Predator Badlands might actually be planning to bring some of this together, would be my speculation. Perhaps delving a little deeper into the intricacies of their culture. For example, predators are quite matriarchal. The women in their society have quite a lot of power. They have a king and a queen that are actually kind of elected by just being so badass. There's many things about their culture that's explored in the comic books, which I highly recommend because they are fascinating and they're incredibly detailed and well thought out. The movies only scratch the surface, and they sometimes seem to cherry pick bits of the lore, so it depends on what you consider to be lore and canon versus expanded universe canon. Because in Star Wars, for example, everything's canon, just everything. But it's not necessarily the same thing, because the people that make the films if the Predator movies can completely disregard it. But we see differences of the Predators from the original Predator, Predator 2, Predators, The Predator, Prey, and now Predator Badlands. It could also be an age difference. They may look different as they get older. It explains the one in Predator Badlands. If he is a younger Yautja, it might be the sort of more striking detailed features of the face simply haven't evolved yet. They are deliberately created to have Very mixed race appearances, as it's been very well documented that Stan Winston based the appearance of them on various different types of sea creatures and reptiles as well as mammals to give them a very alien look to them while being vaguely familiar in their silhouette. But also the things like the addition of dreadlocks and the type of armor and weaponry they use gives them a non-specific geographical location from an Earth point of view. So someone looking at them from Japan can see things they recognize, someone looking at it from Western Europe can see things they recognize, and someone again looking at it from Africa can see something in the Predator that they recognize. That was a very deliberate decision by the creators. So again, it leans into this possibility of a multi-ethnic Yautja society, which could explain the differences of the Predator in Prey, the Predator in Predator Badlands, not the Predator in The Predator. Let's try and forget that film exists, and the original Predators and Predators. So there are explanations. My personal headcanon has always been that they are bad bloods, that they've been genetically and cybernetically altered, which makes them different to the other predators and makes them criminals and outcasts. But predator society being so advanced, they've still got access to some pretty mean and ferocious technology. But what do you guys think? What do you think is the reason for the Predator in Predator Badlands looking sort of pale and pasty and kind of human-y? And also, Predator Killer of Killers, for that matter, they completely just look like the original ones, although I believe one of them might look a bit like the one from Prey. It could be, with them genetically altering themselves, that the one in Prey is closer to what they originally looked like, and as they've been adding DNA, they've progressively got more and more as we recognize them. So by the time we reach the 1980s, the one we saw looked like the one we saw in the 1980s, but then we've got the newer ones coming along. These are all possibilities. I hate that law personally. I absolutely despise that part of the canon that says that the Predator would ever be lowering themselves to mix genetic material into their own perfect bodies, as they would likely see themselves as like the best hunters in the universe, to enhance themselves with qualities of creatures they were easily able to destroy. I hate it. I truly hate it. And I hate it so much, that's why I think they're bad bloods. But that's my opinion. I don't dislike the movies in and of themselves, except for The Predator. I will rewatch that film when it's just I want something really easy to watch I don't have to pay attention to. Because if Predator comes on, I'll pay attention to it. But if I'm doing something in the background, like research for another video, and I just want something on, if I don't watch the movie Doom, which I'm not going to apologize for, I genuinely like that film, I watch something like The Predator because I don't have to pay attention or give a crap if I turn it off halfway and never come back to it, because I simply don't care. Which is a shame, because I really wanted to, because I'd love to see the original cut, actually. I'd love to see the so-called day and night version, where it's never been completed yet. The special effects and things have never been finished, and you add all the other Predators. I'd love to see that without the stupid Iron Man inspired ending, which just, what the fuck? What the fuck is that? What the fuck? It's never going to be seen again. Even the comic books have tried to ignore that. That was so stupid. Shane Black, what were you thinking? I mean, was it your fault? Whose fault was that? That was stupid. Come on. Yeah, I don't like that film. I barely like Predators. The only thing that saves Predators is it's actually really well acted and well cast, but to me it lacks the emotional intelligence and depth that the previous entries had. Prey, fantastic, absolutely brilliant movie, and I genuinely love that film. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I even like the AVP movies. Come at me. I don't know. I like them. I even like Requiem. I actually like it more than the other one. But we're at the end of this video. I think I've droned on long enough. Let me know in the comment section your thoughts on your theory, and with that said, we're at the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye bye.